Okay, I think we can start. So I kindly ask Medeve to take the floor with the music performance.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants from Antwerp, Milan, Tallinn, and all over the world. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the AEC Annual Congress and General Assembly 2020 here at the MDW, University of Music and Performing Arts, Vienna. We deeply regret that this Congress cannot take place in the planned hybrid form due to the current situation. Nevertheless, it is a great pleasure to come together digitally with so many friends, colleagues, and viewers today and tomorrow. I warmly welcome Stefan Gies, CEO of the AEC, and the AEC President Eirik Birkeland. Welcome and many thanks to the members of the AEC Congress Committee who prepared the program and to the team here in Vienna who set up the infrastructure. I also warmly welcome the Director of the Conservatorio di Milano, Cristina Frosini, and the Director of the Estonian Academy, Ivari Ilja. And welcome to our keynote speaker, Themis CHRISTOPHIDOU, Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture of the European Commission. Thank you for joining us. We are confronted with the significant challenges in these days. COVID-19, terror and fear threatened our societies. As institutions, we are now in demand not only to provide our students with everything they need to continue their studies successfully under various circumstances, but also to ensure that relevance of culture and music for our society is taken into account. The current crisis put artists in precarious situations, and it also restricts the access to art, culture and education for many people. During lockdown, music gave and gives us support and consolation. It helped and helps against loneliness and depression, and it has been confirmed that art and culture are life-sustaining. In the times of restrictions in the public life, of closed schools, closed cultural institutions and cancelled concerts and performances, we must take care that nobody is left behind. Therefore, the current topics we are discussing in the AEC as going online, connecting communities in the digital age, and strengthening music in society are of highest socio-political relevance. At the MDW, community music is particularly close to our hearts. We normally organize around 1,300 events a year and aim to enter into a musical dialogue on a level playing field with different people. We intend to create spaces beyond the usual, in which mutual benefit is possible and new forms of participation in involvement are generated. Artistic excellence, social commitment, pedagogical sensitivity, and the need for a scientific basis form the foundation for this work. Now more than ever, it is essential to raise the awareness of political leaders about the importance of art and culture in society. As music universities and academies, we must contribute to this aim and be aware of our social responsibility. I am pleased to now present our university, the MDW, to you in a closer look. Thank you for your attention and enjoy the AEC Congress 2020.
The MDW, University of Music and Performing Arts Vienna, inspires, touches, resounds, and simply impresses. As one of the world's largest and most renowned universities devoted to the performing arts of music, theatre and film, the MDV provides space for over 3,000 students from more than 70 nations to train and develop as artists, pedagogues and researchers. The MDV teaches and learns, questions, researches, and goes in depth. The MDV both consciously upholds its traditions and supports forward-looking innovations and development. Founded in 1817, today's MDV is home to a vibrant, up-to-the-minute and future-oriented dialogue between the arts, research and pedagogical studies at 25 departments. As an international magnet for the development and exploration of the arts, it engages in lively exchange with the music capital of Vienna and its various scenes. The MDV develops, conveys, networks, and helps shape society. With its broad range of events and projects, the MDV provides impulses for cultural and social innovations and actively partakes in current social, educational, and cultural policy discourses. The MDV is committed to democratic values, equal treatment, and diversity. And with its culture of respectful interaction, it also stands for gender equality and inclusion. The MDV moves, tells stories, surprises, and is creative and passionate. With its modern infrastructure and over 1,200 members of faculty and other staff at more than 11 locations, the MDV ensures the best possible conditions for generations of students to grow and flourish. MDV graduates work globally and regionally in a wide variety of fields. The MDV is emotional. It empowers, supports, and encourages. The MDV connects. With its over 1,300 artistic and research-related events each year, the MDV is one of Austria's largest organizers of cultural events. The MDV plays, celebrates, pulsates. The MDV is alive.
Dear friends and colleagues, what a year we have experienced. It seems strangely symbolic that in year 3, midway through the Strengthening Music in Society project, that our higher music education and performing arts societies have been challenged by the way we inherently operate due to the corona crisis. Ever the reactionary, dedicated and dynamic network, the student working group came out in force during the initial months of lockdown, feeling an immediacy and a want to help. We co-authored a list of practical tools for teaching online and wanted to connect with students and alumni from across member institutions and beyond, hosting video calls as opportunities for students to share experiences, collaborate, and network. This culminated in an online seminar on World Music Day titled Investigating Artistic Identity and featured an all-student panel. The event was a success, not only in terms of attendance, but proved that our morale has not been defeated by this virus. There has been an incredible amount of creative flexibility from all sectors, but indeed the performing arts have been challenged. Due to the inherent nature of our vocation-led study programs, we have been collectively pushed to our extremes. The pandemic has only pushed forward the already present notion of a hybrid delivery of programs that the education technology sector has been anticipating. Seminars and lectures online, with instrumental lessons, rehearsals, and ensembles in person. Comparable with when music piracy burst onto the World Wide Web and the music industry ignored the concept of digital music, much to the detriment of the traditional music industry business model. We cannot afford to ignore the rise of the digital in education, music education, and the creative industries any longer. Now more than ever, curricula need to be redesigned to encourage maximum engagement, and institutions should be revising their strategic frameworks with a long-term approach to digital provisions. A lack of community and isolation have also been issues. We have the option within our institutions to foster meaningful learning communities, to keep connected, to avoid anyone being actively excluded. Knowledge acquisition should be asynchronous, but interspersed with forums and pre-recorded lectures. Synchronous sessions provide opportunities for students to interact with each other. If we have these significant and purposeful sessions embedded within the course, students will be able to create meaningful, personal learning networks. On top of the practical conundrums we have faced, new challenges have emerged. The disparity between those who can access and participate and those that cannot has become an even wider chasm. This has presented the problem of digital poverty, where students do not have the access to interfaces, microphones, webcams, or stable internet connections. There is still indeed work to be done. The Student Working Group once again led a successful pre-Congress workshop where we explored prejudice and bias that we or our peers have experienced at Conservatoires. We employed the counsel of an equality and diversity consultant who guided us and our participants on a journey towards inclusivity, enabling us to be equality and diversity champions and multipliers. You can hear further dissemination about this in our parallel session later today. This collaborative effort that we, the Student Working Group, have made in these corona times is testament to the emphasis on collaboration from your institutions across all disciplines and all study programs. This competency, coupled with creative flexibility, has ensured that we are collectively able to find realistic and acceptable solutions. This is perhaps one positive. Another positive that can be found in our shared global situation is that we now have more opportunities and means to connect with each other and can collaboratively explore many possibilities that perhaps weren't feasible before. A survey conducted by the Audience Agency found that 34% of audiences who had engaged with arts and cultural organisations online in the last few months had never attended an in-person event. We have a real opportunity here to find new audiences, help people be exposed to the performing arts, strengthen music in society. For those institutions and tutors that moved their provision online, I wholeheartedly thank you on behalf of all students for your flexibility, your additional unpaid hours of work, and your dedication to the art of pedagogy and for the betterment of higher music education and your students. I thank the AEC for providing this important platform so that this unique sector can continue to share best practice and analyse emerging trends. Also, on a practical note, to the dedicated and hardworking office staff for what will be a smooth running online Congress. Finally, to the students, thank you for attending, for engaging with, and for your patience with your institutions while they have come up with these creative solutions. Please actively participate. We want to hear your voices. Remember, you are the key to unlock the entire puzzle. Have a wonderful Congress, fruitful discussions, and take care of each other. I now hand over to our President, Eirik Birkeland.
Colleagues and students, my dear friends, many thanks to Rektorin Ulrike Süch, Universität für Musik und Darstellende Kunst Wien, for an inspiring speech and for generously assuming the responsibility as host institution for this year's AEC Congress. And warm thanks to the co-chair of the AEC Student Working Group, Miranda Harmer, for stimulating greetings. I would like to welcome you all to the 47th AEC Congress. This year we have been forced to meet online, spread out all over Europe and other continents, face to face, and yet thousands of kilometers apart. Many of us know each other well from previous years and can hope for at least some limited opportunities for reviewing and reconnecting. But this will be more challenging for this year's newcomers, institutional leaders, teachers and students who have not attended the AEC Congress before. We are very happy to welcome you here. Please do not hesitate to contact our many hard-working helpers if you have any question. We are currently experiencing an escalating second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let us hope that this terrible crisis will not last much longer, and that at next year's Congress we can enjoy coming together again in real life, socially and personally at the Royal Conservatory in Antwerp. Going online, connecting communities in the digital age. Yes, we are all struggling to keep higher music education going on at a decent level through the pandemic, as we also are preparing for how to go on after the crisis, with new experiences and ideas for how we can find better ways to connect audiences with music through digital channels. At the same time, we are all longing intensely to return to normality, to re-establish fundamental interpersonal contact in our daily work. And even in the midst of the COVID crisis, we are going on, developing our SMS project, AEC Strengthening Music in Society. Through this project, we want to help to increase social responsibility and societal relevance of higher music education. The project is fundamentally about the interaction between higher music education and society. How do we renew our agendas for contributing to sustainability for and through music? In various sessions of the Congress program, we will draw inspiration from the SMS project to how we can lead and organize our institutions, develop inclusiveness, strengthen student-centered learning, disseminate our music, and use a more holistic approach to develop creative practice. I would recommend you all to study our new SMS website closely. In order to make a significant impact in society, we are of course dependent on understanding and recognition from political authorities of the values represented by music and the arts. 20 years ago, the potential for music and the arts to make a contribution was opened with the European Union's Lisbon strategy, which aimed at making the EU the most competitive and dynamic knowledge-based economy in the world by 2010. However, in the two subsequent decades, culture has been given very low priority, and the word art has hardly been seen or heard in the EU's vocabulary. And today, do we have reasons to hope for an improvement? For the next planned period of the EU's multinational framework, 2021-27, the key topics for education have been announced as not only science, technology, engineering and mathematics, summed up in the well-established acronym STEM, but will also include the arts. STEM will acquire an A in the middle and become STEAM. Implementing the arts as a key topic will be a huge task on all levels. It will start by ensuring that everyone has access to music and arts education, and by securing the competence of teachers and the quality of content in the subjects. But shouldn't this acknowledgement also have consequences for the EU's future funding of the arts in the culture and creative sector? To give you a concrete illustration, for 2018, the culture and creative sector represented more than 12 million full-time jobs, 7.5% of the EU's workforce and 4.2% of the EU's total economy. But the EU support for the sector through the main program, Creative Europe, amounted to only 0.15% of the overall EU budget. Today, we all know that this sector is among those that have suffered most severely during the pandemic. We are concerned that the EU's response so far has not been based on a deeper understanding of the values and potential of art and culture than has been expressed in the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen's Bauhaus-inspired recovery plan for what is called a cultural and sustainable Europe. The AEC and our colleagues in arts education and cultural sector have indeed higher expectations for the STEAM incorporation, and will urge EU for full steam ahead. In the plenary session, starting in a few minutes, we will have an opportunity to meet the Director General for the EU Commission's policies on education, youth, sports and culture, Themis CHRISTOPHIDOU, who will address this and other central topics. We are looking forward to this session with great anticipation. And dear friends, we are also looking forward to the fully packed two-day program that will give us all new inspiration to our work for high music education. I wish you a good Congress. Thank you. And now I have the pleasure of passing the microphone on to AEC's Chief Executive, Stefan Gies.
Thank you very much, Eirik, for this inspiring introduction to the day. Allow me first to warmly welcome you to this Congress, also from my side in my capacity as Chief Executive and Head of the Office of the AEC in Brussels. It's good to see so many of you out there on the screens, and although I'm missing the smell of Kaiserschmarrn and Sachertorte, I really appreciate that we are able to address people today to whom we are only able to reach out due to the fact that we are doing the whole meeting online. One of those to meet here might be Themis CHRISTOPHIDOU, Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture of the European Commission. I may need to explain a little bit more in detail what that means. I assume each of you is in permanent contact with a national or federal ministry or other kind of public authority which is responsible to facilitate and supervise your daily activities as an institution, and to which you might be connected through a kind of red phone as in the old times. It could be a ministry, if there could be a ministry for higher education or for culture or whatever. This is quite different, and this is diversity of Europe that we appreciate so much. If there is it all something as such a ministry in quotation marks, so to say, at the level of the European Union, then is this Directorate General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, in which Themis acts as a kind of state secretary. I'm therefore very happy that Themis found the time to share the opening of this plenary session with us. And we are very curious to learn more about what the Commission sees the role and the activities of our institutions, of the higher music education sector as a whole. And Eirik has already pointed to a few of issues that are hot topics to us. So, Themis, thank you so much for your readiness to speak to us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I think it's a good attempt to describe the Directorate General for Culture as a European Ministry for Culture, although we have to remember that culture is an exclusively national competence of member states. They are very much keen to keep it that way, and the European Union's role is just to support the member states. I think it's important to remember this. But it's a great pleasure for me to be here this morning, and thank you for your invitation to your annual Congress. And I also want to congratulate you for making this event possible even online, because it doesn't go without saying it's become very complicated to meet. We are facing difficult circumstances, and so I think it's important to say that all these online meetings require a lot of investment. First of all, allow me to stress how proud we are in the European Commission to be able to support the Association Européenne des Conservatoires. You are one of our 28 valued pan-European cultural networks. The work you do contributes to the discussion on the key societal role of music and arts more generally. Your project, Strengthening Music in Society, perfectly illustrates how relevant your input is to the broader European Union agenda. You look into raising awareness on the social responsibility of artists and into the use of innovative teaching and learning practices in the digital age. You delve into pertinent questions of inclusion and sustainability through the lens of music. Indeed, with its fascinating balance between discipline and creativity, tradition and innovation, music education equips students with valuable skills and competences. Moreover, it gives them an understanding of their heritage, and at the same time, it opens their minds to other cultures. European leaders are very well aware of this important role of culture and creativity and of music within it. And even though it may sometimes seem that these topics are not front-page material, they are far from being ignored. For example, member states in the Council have expressly designated cultural awareness and expression as one of 8 key competences for lifelong learning. A competence necessary for employability, for personal fulfillment and health, for active and responsible citizenship, and social inclusion. And in its resolution on the European Commission's new European Agenda for Culture, the European Parliament stressed the added value of music and arts education in schools. Moreover, it's thanks to political support that the European Commission was able to step up its support to the music higher education sector. Here, I mean especially our Music Moves Europe initiative. We have supported the training of musicians and music professionals and have funded 21 innovative and sustainable new training programs. These have focused on developing business-related skills, reflecting the dual nature of music as an art and as a product. Innovative approaches such as Music Moves Europe are important today more than ever before. They support our efforts to build a knowledge-based society and to equip people with skills that will enable them to thrive professionally and personally. This is why our higher education transformation agenda also includes arts in its vision. It promotes the STEAM approach, integrating STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and maths with the study of arts. Complementing STEM learning with arts helps develop transversal and creative skills that are critical in the age of artificial intelligence and the automation of work. It helps learners step out of their traditional ways of thinking and nurtures innovation and learning across disciplines and boundaries. This thinking and learning across disciplines is one of the key characteristics of our European Universities initiative. Supported by the Erasmus Plus program, European universities are transnational alliances of higher education institutions. Institutions that implement new and innovative curricula and use a multidisciplinary approach. Let me just take one example. The Film EU Alliance, with partners from all over Europe, focuses on film and media arts. They will develop a new multidisciplinary master program focused on all dimensions of the oral experience, from sound production to music and innovative uses of sound for interaction. Several other alliances among the 41 currently selected will also include arts and culture in their programs. And I'm excited to see how they will blaze the trail of true interdisciplinary learning for the benefit of Europe as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we can avoid speaking about the COVID-19 crisis today. It has hit the cultural and creative sectors very hard. The whole music value chain has suffered and live performance has been particularly hurt. The economic impact on musicians, music educators, professionals, and the many self-employed in the sector is huge. We are aware of the personal and professional sacrifices you had to make. And at the same time, you have shown great resilience and determination. The energy coming from the cultural sector literally has been helping Europeans survive through the pandemic. And now we need to help the culture community to survive. I can assure you that you have not been forgotten. The European Commission is determined to help in the recovery. Having seen the impact of the crisis, we quickly launched an extraordinary call worth 100 million euros to support skills development, digital competencies, and social inclusion through arts. Moreover, additional funding was made available under Creative Europe and through the Music Moves Europe initiative. We have adjusted our 48 million big cultural and creative sector guarantee facility to allow more flexibility in loan repayments. And we have strongly encouraged member states to use the EU recovery instruments and the temporary relaxations of state aid rules to support their cultural sectors. I hope most of these instruments and funds, if not all of them, will be used for this opportunity. I also hope that this extraordinary effort demonstrates that the Commission is doing all it can to help. We have looked for solutions both within and beyond the Creative Europe program. It's our basic program for culture, but it's not the only program that the EU funds which can support the sector. And we are aware that the needs of the sector are big and that the EU funding for culture may indeed seem like a drop in the ocean. In working with partners such as you, however, we are trying to make sure that this drop falls on the best spot and has the most impact. I thank you for your attention and I wish you a successful Congress.
Yeah, dear Themis, thank you so much for your empathic welcome words, and thanks also for pointing out to the fact that culture and arts education is, unlike, for example, economy and trade, not up to the responsibility indeed of the European Union, but the national states and sometimes even of the federal states. I noted with great interest, and I have to say gratefulness as well, that you are not only were using the word culture, but also arts when talking about our field of responsibility and also the, let's say, the contribution of our sector to the societal well-being as a whole. And it's good to hear that you are mentioned, so to say, the impact of COVID on the culture and arts labor market. I think that's something which indeed has been in the first months of the crisis somehow underestimated. And I would just maybe something that I would like you to take along is also the huge COVID support in terms of funds, recovery funds. That's something we are quite aware about and are very happy about. But we have also to keep in mind that it's mostly left to the member states how to use this money. So that means it's up to the member states to either use it for the cultural and arts sector or not bring it there. And that's something which I would, let's say, we would hope that still, even if it's left to the member states, if we have the support from the European Commission to remind them somehow that the particular situation of the of the culture and arts education sector. So that's something I would like to say. And so moreover, I just have to thank you so much for being here. And I think, yes, thank you. And maybe if I would very much hope that once the lockdown is over in Brussels, we will have the opportunity to continue our exchange of ideas in direct contact. Thank you very much.
With pleasure. Thank you too.
Bye-bye. So now let me introduce the next speakers who will, after having a look of today's topic from an outside, or should I rather say from upside perspective, have a look at the situation from an inside perspective. And inside is meaning here that all three represents that all three speakers that I like to introduce now represent an AEC member institution, either as principal or senior manager, albeit in completely different roles. So a warm welcome to Emilie Delorme, Director of the Conservatoire National Supérieur de Musique et Danse in Paris, Johannes Meissl, Vice Rector for Artistic and International Affairs at our host institution, Musikuniversität Wien, and last but not least, the AEC Council member and principal of the Royal Scottish Conservatoire in Glasgow, Jeff Sharkey. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm going to hand briefly over to Johannes as our host, who wanted to say a quick word first.
Well, I want to address everybody also from my side. I'm very happy that we can get together, at least in this, up to now, really very well working format. I just wanted to say before we go navigated by Jeff through today's program a bit, that I'm extremely interested to learn a lot from today's sessions because I have the triple function of being responsible in the leadership, teaching as a professor fully still, and also still I'm a performing musician who is hit by all the impacts of what we all experience at the moment. So, Jeffrey, would you start your navigation, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Johannes, and welcome also to Emilie. I've been asked to provide a teaser, and the one thing I can say is we had a dry run at the council meeting of the election that we'll be having tomorrow, prepared by Barbara, and I can assure you it will run more smoothly than the one in my original country of the United States. So that's teaser number one. This is an amazing conference, and I'm really proud of the AEC office for having, we all hoped we would be together, first in Antwerp, then we might be together in MDV, or Milan, or Tallinn. And it was, each time we had to part with some regret with the idea that COVID would keep us apart. And yet, the amazing speed with which AEC adapted was phenomenal. This is an unusual format. There are going to be lunchtime talks that are based on the videos that we've hoped you've watched earlier. There are parallel sessions of different lengths that you can pop in and out of. And in fact, that's one of the things that my two colleagues and I will be doing. We're going to try to act as shepherds through these sessions, listening to them, trying to draw out threads between us. Wonderful opening introductions from Mimi, from Eirik, from Stefan, from Themis, and from Ulrika, our host. And it just strikes me, especially as I did try to get my vote in on time in the United States, that one of the things that arts really are important and must not be forgotten are for the emotional intelligence that they give us. As our societies seem to become more divided and unable to find common threads of shared humanity, the empathy that arts give us is a hope that we all have for healing these deep divisions that still exist. there are some amazing themes that are running through these parallel sessions. Obviously, COVID pervades all thinking on this. So we're thinking about digital in a time of lockdown. We're thinking about diversifying our art forms, diversifying classical music. We're thinking about managing change. We're thinking about managing mental health. And all of these things are interconnected. If you have constant change and you're shifting direction and you're worried about the sustainability of your art form, it's going to affect mental health. And again, how we behave with one another. So those are my initial thoughts, but I'd like to invite Emilie, who hasn't yet had a word, to maybe give some of her thoughts on the sessions that we're about to see. We're kind of predicting what we might be discussing with you a little bit later on. Emilie?
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to join this day with you. It's the first time I joined this Congress, being appointed just a few months ago. And being appointed just a few months ago means that I don't know, I have no idea how to run an institution without the corona crisis. And so I'm quite focused on dealing with the crisis now, but I know for many years how important is it to reinforce our exchanges, and all the international relationships are the base of many things. And I'm very happy to share our best practice here facing the crisis, because I think with the crisis it's even more important. So I'm very happy to attend a few sessions during the day. Some of them linked to the digital age. I think we will start the afternoon with a student-centered learning in the digital age, and listening to the student point of view on it. I think it's one of the key points in this crisis, where we have to adjust day by day about new rules, new possibilities. And this dialogue between our institutions and students are, for me, a key point. So I'm really learning to hear them on that. And I think during every single crisis, the questions of the weakest or the most, the people who have difficulties to attend classes are always the same people, and we need to be more and more careful about first diversifying our audience and to keep everyone on board during this crisis, because we know that having no instruments at home, no space, no digital tools can be a very problematic problem during those days. So we will start this morning with one group on these questions, and I'm very happy to hear what is recommended on this. I think it was not mentioned this morning also, but the pop, rock, folk sector is also quite challenged in the crisis, even more than the classical music, at least in France. And having a group about how to deal with cross-gender, I think we have all a responsibility also to sustain this sector in our countries. So I think it's a key point of the day. And speaking about diversifying, we will also speak about prejudice and bias. And once more, it's very important on that to hear the students' feedback on it, because they are the best persons to tell us how to make our institutions more inclusive and with less bias. And the last things I would like to focus on is that we will finish the day with a beautiful project presentations called Sounds of Solidarity, and presented by Vienna. And I would say that if I had to name this day with you, I would love to keep this name of Sounds of Solidarity, because I think it's meaning a lot to us about what this group can be giving to each of us. So I hope to have a beautiful day, and seeing you at the end of the day for the wrap session. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Emilie. Johannes, would you like to comment on some of the sessions that you're looking at? And I think you're even hosting one as well.
Well, there is the one I'm going to host. It's more of a presentation about this very nice follow-up project of the ECMA, European Chamber Music Academy Initiative. But I invite everybody who finds the time to participate, and we will present this project there. But my comment now would be that after going through all the abstracts and looking at a lot of videos yesterday, last night I tried to get an impression of what is going on during the day. I find it myself really difficult to make a choice, and as we agreed upon, the three of us, we will try to float around a bit, but we mainly, of course, distributed our attention beforehand. So I think that, of course, it will be very necessary to deepen all our ideas and experiences and possibilities for quick improvement in the questions of house-to-house technology improvement, and of course everything that is going to connect us more than to separate us, also referring to Emilie's wonderful motto of the day, solidarity in music, over all the boundaries. That's very important, I think. Something that we even more learn not to think in our boxes, within our traditional boxes. So I think it's a challenge, and my suggestion would be, of course, you have to pick some of the parallel sessions, because you cannot just drop in and out as a regular attendee. But it is really helpful to watch everything that already has been provided beforehand, and also after, so that everybody can get most out of this really fully packed day. So that's my recommendation for the day.
Thank you, Johannes. I've seen in the chat, a real strength of going online is definitely that we're greener, and that is one of the agenda items, how conservatoires can contribute to reducing the damaging effects of climate change, and also that more people can join from wider parts of our conservatoire, not just institutional leaders. So I think that is a strength of this. And as Mimi said in the beginning, we're all learning how to, hybridize our work, and that includes our conferences, how to do some things face-to-face, how to do some things online. So that's a real strength. There are coffee breaks that are hosted by my colleagues on the AEC Council, again, where we can try to share conversation and ideas that we might have been hearing throughout the day. And just before I let you go, maybe a little bit earlier to your coffee break, I want to take a moment to reflect how, as artists, we've always, in a way, lived with an element of insecurity. The rest of the world is catching up to what we've learned how to deal with all our lives. We always have to reproduce, reinvent, rethink. We're students for life in many ways. And I think the world needs our help. But I also want to share my thanks to all of you. If you're here as a leader, if you're here as a teacher, if you're here as a student, you're trying to maintain your own optimism for the future of the world so that you can share that with others. And I know that sometimes is hard, and maybe you don't get thanks from your government. Maybe you don't get thanks enough from your colleagues, although I know we all share that. But on behalf of AEC, I want to thank you all for what you're doing to keep our artists alive, flourishing, and rethinking everything that they do. So I'm looking forward, as much as my colleagues, to joining these sessions, trying to draw some threads together at the end, and it should be a really stimulating conversation. And I suggest we have a coffee break now, and we come back at the correct time. I don't want to say it because I'm UK time and I'll get it wrong an hour earlier, but Sara knows the time, and it's all in your diaries. So thanks so much for this opening session, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you, Jeffrey. So now, yes, we can go to an early coffee break. So there are several options for you. You can just have a break until the start of the plenary session 2 at 10:45, or you can join two virtual coffee rooms, one hosted by our council member Lucia Licek, and the other one hosted by our Secretary General Harry van den Elsen. or you can join our sponsor Azimut for a presentation of their product, or yet you can set up your own meetings on Huba and have private meeting with other participants. So thank you very much. I will now close this session. So see you for the plenary session 2 at 10:45.